This is the Superpowered Mind podcast for inquiring individuals who are tired of the struggle for peace, happiness, and clarity. I'm Claire Diamond, ready to help you explore the principles of the mind, the self, and reality to unlock ultimate mental freedom. This podcast is the one to listen to if you're ready to experience the capabilities of the superpowered mind. Hi, everybody. Welcome to episode 17 of the Superpowered podcast. Today, we're looking at something that's so important and which this understanding really transforms, and that is the past. And we're going to look at it from the perspective of what is true and what is useful. Because what happens with the mind is it is so powerful, and the way it represents things is so believable that it looks like the past, when the mind remembers things in the past, it looks like it's going actually back to some event. It's not, is it? It's going back to stored memories that are available right now, accessed right now, and happening right now, in a sense, aren't they? They're in this body mind right now, and they're being accessed. And this means that the past doesn't exist as something somewhere. It exists here within us. And so how things are remembered, the role that memories play, the meaning and the effect, the reaction to them, all of that is a function of right now. And by right now, what we mean is a function of what is understood right now, what's believed right now, what is being prioritized right now, what is the conditioned setup right now, because that creates the lens through which memories are brought out. So the past is a function really of understanding and information that is available in this moment. And because understanding and information change all the time, it means that the past can dramatically change as a function of new understanding, of new information. So a simple example is we go into work and the boss is really grumpy and a bit dismissive, and we're thinking, oh my God, this is a disaster. I've done something wrong. The boss doesn't like me. My days are numbered here. And we might be thinking that all day. And throughout the day, the mind is gathering evidence of that. So it's going into other memories to see, oh yes, and then he was a bit off with me in that meeting, or his boss didn't say hello to me in the corridor when I passed her. Things are going on that mean that I'm definitely out of here. And the whole day is a day of that story building. And this active, incredible, superpowered mind is creating this film of me having done something wrong, me not being respected at work, me about to lose my job. And that's reality. That's the reality that's being lived all day as a function of those experiences in the morning that have now become memories and which are now fueling this narrative. And then along comes, so at the end of the day, say 5 o'clock, we're packing up to leave, and along comes the HR person and says, oh, I just wanted to let you know that your boss is going through a tough time at the moment in his personal life. You know, he's struggling a little bit. So we're just going to be a bit easy with him as much as we can, be compassionate with what he's going through. So now everything changes. It's a whole different world now. The boss is completely different on the basis of new information, new understanding. I'm completely different on the basis of new information, new understanding. No longer the failure. I'm just what I was before. The whole future in which I was having to leave my job, find a new job, blah, blah. That's not there anymore. So fresh information has come in and has completely changed the way the past is represented. Because now, instead of seeing a boss that doesn't want us there, disrespects us, doesn't like us, now we see a boss that is struggling with personal issues and doesn't have the energy or the capacity to engage in that moment. Changes everything. And this is so brilliant for us to see, because all memories change in this conversation, because this conversation is fundamentally transforming the entire way that self and other and reality are understood. And because all of that is changing, the entire past is changing, particularly in relation to shame and blame. When memories are held in place from a belief in a independent decider, and that actions are taken personally rather than actions being the product of whatever makes most sense in that moment, given what each person is believing. When we start understanding that, then an entire past, which is made of shame of us and blame of others, starts to recalibrate. And that's an incredible shift that is starting to happen. That is an entire mental system coming back into sanity. And the interesting thing, I think, for all of us is that this doesn't mean that a mind which is capable of organizing itself according to past, present, and future, it doesn't mean that that's a problem. It means that is a superpower advantage to be able to do that. So what we can see in people with memory problems is that the ability to orientate in a world of form is severely impacted. The mind's capacity to remember what has happened in the past and to, as a basis of that, orientate into the future, that's an enormous asset, and it's part of what makes the human mind so incredibly powerful. Not for 1 minute are we suggesting that ability is an issue or a problem. No, it's a superpower. At the same time, we are saying this mind, which is so incredibly powerful, can get locked in to memories that are part of the narrative of me, part of the survival narrative, part of the story or the film of who I am. And when that happens, when it all looks so real, that narrative continually gets played out over and over and over again. But instead, what we're doing here is we're looking here at how the mind is set free of orientating around an illusion and instead becomes more and more engaged with the actual reality, the world as it actually is. And this is an amazing freedom that starts to happen, because the entire story of me is held from those fixed in place memories of the past. And those memories are so incredibly cherry-picked. Out of infinite bits of data, these specific memories are selected and distorted through the lens of fear, shame, need, insecurity that makes them appear as they do. And then that cherry-picked and distorted and incredibly filtered past becomes what I am. And it then creates the future. It certainly creates the present. It creates any thought of what the future is going to be, because the thought of the future comes from that past narrative, that past story. So this whole memory bank is up for grabs, really. And it's up for grabs in a way that is completely sane and in which the mind is drawn deeper into actual reality. Rather than, we're not talking about memory switching off. We're not talking about the past disappearing. We're talking about the past being completely understood from an absolute space of sanity. What is true? And who actually am I in that past? And really, we start to see that the idea of the past, that collection of memories, is creating what we think we are. And all of that can transform at any moment. And that possibility of transformation is really what this conversation is about. It's about a mind becoming sane and understanding itself and understanding what past, present, and future are, what other people are, what imagination is. So for all of us, particularly when there's suffering, in these moments of deep contraction and this sense of protection of me, the survival of me, the threat that I feel I'm under, in those moments, let's just notice what the mind is doing in relation to the past, how it immediately starts gathering these pieces of evidence about why I'm a bad person, or why I'm a failure, or why they hate me, or why I'll never amount to much, or all the things I've ever done wrong. That sort of gathering is the gathering of a mind that is actually trying to find stability in securing this idea of ourselves as separate. It's very understandable. It's very innocent and natural tendency. And at the same time, it's completely dysfunctional because it keeps the mind in a state of identification and questioning belief that just replicates that experience over and over again. When really the mind, the function of the mind, the conscious mind, is just to see that happening, notice that happening, and to see actually all of it will change as understanding changes. Yeah, so it's a fascinating area. This is not bypass, it's not denial, it's not trying to get us all to become incapable of remembering whether we've turned the oven on or not. This is about the use of the superpowered mind in the way that in which it really, truly flourishes. Yes, thank you everyone. Bye. Thank you for listening to Superpowered Mind with me, Claire Diamond. If you want extra support in the exploration of your mind, download our exclusive subliminal recording, especially for podcast listeners, on bit.ly/podcast subliminal.